The conviction of Kevin Smith, in many ways, a small case with very large consequences. A 61-year-old man isolated at home, watching the world through a screen, sent roughly 300 text messages and several voicemails to the office of a Jewish member of parliament. Many of his words were crude and hateful, but some crossed the line into explicit calls for violence. Kill the Jews, he wrote. Arrest them for war crimes. He insisted he was simply exercising free speech. He now finds himself in prison for 8 weeks. Drunkenness doesn't explain away hatred, nor does political passion excuse racism. Anti-Semitic threats are an ancient problem dressed in the latest grievance. Whenever social anxiety rises, whenever conflict abroad agitates conflict at home, there are always those who slip from argument to scapegoating, and what starts as typing can end with physical harm. Alex Sobel is a public servant. He's known for his work on sustainability and community cohesion, yet because he's Jewish, a stranger in his own constituency decided that the MP was not only wrong in policy, but guilty in blood. Threatening an elected representative is not only an attack on one man, it's a quiet attempt to intimidate Parliament itself. The judge was explicit about this. 2 MPs have already been murdered in the past decade. When a politician receives a barrage of violent threats, the fear is not hypothetical. Smith showed no remorse. The court heard. He said he disliked MPs in general and didn't care about the impact. That cold indifference reveals something troubling. This was not a moment of online impulsivity. This was a sustained campaign over 9 days deliberately aimed at causing distress, panic, insecurity. It succeeded. Sobel's family was frightened. His staff were subjected to horrific slurs. The fear doesn't evaporate when the phone stops ringing. We've got to a point where our lawmakers are no longer respected in the way that perhaps 20 years ago, 50 years ago certainly, they would have been. The defence suggested that the offender had confused the state of Israel with the Jewish people. He's not the only one. There is an important difference, yes, but misunderstanding is not an alibi, and certainly not when the slogans of the 20th century's darkest hatred are sprayed into the inbox of a 21st century public servant. Criticism of the state is legitimate. Advocating murder of a people is not political commentary, it is racism. And it's wrong. It's also worth noting the timing. Britain recorded one of its highest ever years of anti-Semitic incidents. Jewish schools have installed reinforced doors. Synagogues have marshals. Families weigh the risk of wearing visible symbols of their faith in such an atmosphere. Every slur is a spark. Every threat lands on dry ground. Anti-Semitism doesn't need large numbers to become dangerous. It needs only silence. When someone spreads hatred with impunity, others take courage from their cruelty. That is why prosecution matters here. The Crown Prosecution Service said it plainly. Freedom of expression is a qualified right. There is a line between dissent and menace. Cross it and you answer to the law. It's worth acknowledging 2 things simultaneously. First, the sentence here is short, 8 weeks, reduced from 10 because of the man's health. Second, the restraining order is vital. Sobel and his team must be able to get to work without constantly looking over their shoulders. The message must be clear. Abuse of MPs will be met with firm consequences, not shrugs. There is, too, a civic responsibility on all of us. Political disagreement is normal and healthy, but once we allow religion or ethnicity to enter the argument as ammunition, we poison democracy at its roots. You cannot threaten a representative and then claim to defend the nation. You're striking at the very structure that protects your own rights. Sobel himself responded with remarkable restraint. He expressed gratitude to the police and hoped that the offender can rebuild his life with proper support. This is not weakness. It is strength. A civilized society insists on accountability, then welcomes rehabilitation. We often speak about anti-Semitism as if it's a ghost of the past. But here it is in our own courts, in our own news cycle, in our own communities. We do not defeat prejudice merely by condemning the most extreme examples. We challenge it earlier, in the everyday assumptions, the lazy jokes, the imported slogans, the conspiratorial whispers. We must support those who serve in public office. We must protect our Jewish neighbours, colleagues and representatives from becoming targets for age-old hatred dressed up as political commentary. And we must remind ourselves constantly that words have consequences, that hatred has victims, that democracies are fragile things which depend on trust and safety to function. The protections of civil discourse are not optional. They are the structure that prevents argument from collapsing into violence. The case reminds us that they need active maintenance. It's a task for prosecutors, yes, but also for ordinary people, teachers, journalists, political parties of every stripe, including, of course, Reform UK. There is a cost to ignoring rising hate. It is paid in fear, and fear is the enemy of democracy. Taking this seriously is not censorship, it is civilization.